get Daddy's favorite cup and Mommy's second or third favorite cup. Decide. Yeah. Okay, then let's get our collagen. If Mommy can reach it, we shall see. Hi, yeah. Okay, we got it. We got it. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning, good morning. Just fixing, I saw in the video that the back of my thing was all twisted. Grandma's here. Oh. Was that a toot or a poop? Was that a toots or a poops? Okay, well. I gotta figure this out. I'll be right back. Okay, Dada is taking care of the diaper while I make the coffee for us, and then she'll get back in her wrap and hopefully go right to sleep with a clean diaper. That would be a win for everyone, right? Really good, happy 3 grandchildren, 1 on the way. That's right, yes. 3 grandchildren and 1 on the way. My face was priceless, I mean, you know. My brother and sister-in-law apparently got a box in the mail from me today with a bunch of baby stuff that I sent them because I got a text message from them this morning, so that was nice. Oh my God, I gotta order milk. We're almost out of milk. That's bad. No good. Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. How are you all? Well, I hope. Can't believe we're down to that little amount of milk. Oh my gosh. So sad. Why are you not making coffee? Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. What kind of coffee do I want to have? I guess I'll have this one. And then hopefully she'll fall right to sleep now that she's going to have a clean day. Turbo strength coffee, that's right. That's literally correct, yeah. Yeah. How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone good? Everyone feeling fine? Piece of hair stuck to me. Okay, we're back. We're back. Breathing anxiety. I just woke up in the middle of the night thinking I didn't pack. Oh, you definitely will have wipes. The good thing is you can get wipes pretty much anywhere, right? At least I think so. Do you have a problem with the rings flipping on the sling or sliding through each other? No, definitely not. They're sewn in. I know, Stephanie. She's had these pajamas her whole life. And I am going to be infinitely sad when she grows out of them because she's been wearing them since she was like a 2-week-old. And I will be real sad when they go bye-bye. Real sad. How long until you go, Susan? I can't remember. I know it's the summer, but I just, you know, my brain doesn't exist on this plane any longer. Feeling a bit unmotivated with work. Oh no, I'm sorry about that. Leave on the 28th of this month? Oh my gosh, wait, why did I think it was like July or August? Hold up, I really thought it was further away, Susan. I really did. That's crazy. Hey, Ray. Shaking bacon. How are you? Yeah. You need a nap. I know. Less than 2 weeks is crazy. That's so soon. Just a few clothes and have them made and keep it. Yes, no, we're definitely keeping, like, we actually are keeping, like, a number of things that we really loved, like, as keepsakes, and some of them we're gonna have made into stuff, but, like, some of them we're gonna keep to give to her later in case she wants to use them, like, the ones that are still in really good condition. Like, what if she wants to use them with her own kids one day, you know what I mean? And who knows, maybe she won't, but I'd like to offer it to her. I'd like to give her the opportunity, if you will. Same thing with a bunch of the wraps. Like, maybe she won't want to wrap her kids one day, but maybe she will. And wouldn't it be great if I could give her, like, all the wraps that I used on her, or, like, a lot of my mom's bringing a bunch of clothes for my baby. Yeah, exactly. But, like if I saved this wrap and a couple of our other favorite wraps and give them to her, how sweet would it be for her to get to hold her baby in this someday? Like, knowing how often she used it. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that be just the sweetest thing? I think. I don't know. Maybe she won't be sentimental like me. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. Yeah. I know. So cuddly. So cuddly. Tori, you are not a boring person. You know it. You know you're not boring. Okay, get your hand out of here. No squishies. No squishies. There we go. There we go. She's so tired. She's very heavy. Like, you know, I don't know, anyone who has a baby this age, or maybe any kid, you can feel when they're about to fall asleep because their body just gets heavy, like they're not holding themselves up at all anymore. She's at that stage right now. She's just completely, like, you know. Caddy told me that she plans to wear her babies or her cats in her rainbow sling. That's right. Tell her I said yes. My grandson turned 17. My brain can't. I can't go there. I cannot go there. You're never going to be 17, huh? You're going to be my baby forever. You're going to be able to be held forever. It's a floppy sleep, that's right. Yeah. Are you going to be a baby that fits in my sling forever? Hey, Avery. Oh, we're in a mood to kick out of our seat. Is that what's going on here? Mommy forgot to put the milks away while the stuff was going. Hang on, I'll be right back. I gotta put these away. Yeah. She's not screaming. Yes, she's not screaming. That's right. Oh, did Aunt Stephanie speak too soon? My birthday is the 20th. I'm convinced you. You know what? My mom also got a grandchild for her birthday. My mom's birthday is July 1st, and her first grandchild was born July 2nd. So, you know, my sister's always a little late for stuff. Yeah. Ah, so delicious. Okay. Let's go. Not this grandchild, a different grandchild, of course. But still, it's her first one. Very special. When that happened, my brother and I texted each other and we said, well, great, now we'll never be able to get Mom a good birthday present ever again because she was given a grandchild for this birthday. It was pretty funny. Okay, we're sitting down. We're sitting on the book, but that's okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, we did it. We managed it, baby girl. We managed, you and me. We got this. You and me. We got this. We got this. Ray, can you... Really? Hey, Grumble Pants. Grumble pants. No grumbles, no grumbles. You want sleepies, no grumbles. Ray, what I was gonna tell you was I need you to tell Caddy I'm gonna need a picture when that happens. You know, I think it's only fair at this point that she share with me. Right? Rainbow Wrap sisters. I think that's fair. Right? Yeah. Yeah, we're Rainbow Wrap sisters, huh? Or more like an auntie. I could never really be her sister. I know, it would be weird, huh? If Mommy had a sister who was 7 years old, that would be strange. It would be strange, huh? Yeah. Bless you. You could have a sister who's 7 years old, but not Mommy. Not Mommy. She just needs to wait 20 more years. Yeah, no, sure. I mean, yeah, 20, 25 years, something around that range. Yes, the plant behind us is real. Hold on, I'll show you. It's our pride and joy other than our baby. Look at this. Do you see it? Honey, okay, shh, shh, shh. So this monstera, we grew from a tiny little monstera. Later when oh, you want out. Okay, do you want to go be with Dad? You don't want to sleep on Mommy? You don't? Are you sure? It'd be really nice. You don't want to? Okay, all right, we'll be right back. Hold on. Whoop. Okay, she's gonna hang out with Dad for a second, but I'm gonna show you first. So this is the monstera now, and you can see how big it is because like I'm right here. Like these leaves are huge, right? But I'm gonna show you what the pot was that it started in so that you could see. Hold on, let me turn the camera. This is the pot that we got when we first bought it. This tiny little thing here on the table. This is where we started the monstera. Now it lives over there, humongous. Sorry, you have to see how the room is, but yeah. So that's how you know that we grew it from nearly nothing. Yeah, crazy, right? It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. I remember when it was a counterplant. Yeah, it was a counterplant. That's exactly correct. It was on the counter for the majority of the first, I don't know, 6 months that we had it. But it's big now. It's big, big, big. Yeah, it's giant now. It's very tall. It'll be taller than me soon. Yeah. You can see how high, yeah, we go very big monster. You can see how high it reaches on the wall because we have the art on the wall, and nobody puts art like low on a wall, you know? Urgent. I don't know what that means. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our chapter of the day. We are going to read chapter 20 today. Chapter 20. Coriolanus squeezed his hands into fists, unsure of the viper's intentions. The snakes in the tank, having been exposed to his scent on the proposal, had entirely ignored him. But these seemed magnetically drawn toward his tribute. Could it be that the environment made the difference? Violently released from the warm, close quarters of their tank into the vast, unsheltered arena were they seeking her out as the only familiar scent that they could find? You'll have to show us a picture of it, Christy. Had they gravitated toward her as a harbor in the safety of her skirt? Lucy Gray knew nothing of this because that day in the zoo when he'd meant to tell her about Clemencia and the snakes, the circumstances had been much worse than he'd expected, and he kept silent on the subject. Even if he had told her, it would be a real leap of faith in his abilities to imagine that he had found a way to tamper with the snakes in the game. What did she think was keeping them in check? It had to be her singing. Had she sung to the snakes alone? That snake was a particular friend of mine, she had told the little girl in the zoo. Perhaps she'd befriended several snakes back in District 12. Perhaps she thought if she stopped singing, they would indeed kill her now. Perhaps this was her swan song. She would never want to go without a finale. She would want to die with her boots on in the brightest spotlight that she could find. Good morning. When Lucy Gray began the lyrics, her voice was soft but clear as a bell. You're headed for heaven, the sweet old hereafter, and I've got one foot in the door, but before I can fly up, I've got loose ends to tie up right here in the old ever after. An old song, Coriolanus thought, with talk of hereafter, which reminded him of Sejanus and his breadcrumbs, but also that funny line about the there before. That must mean the present, the here and now, while she was still alive. Formally requesting you post this soon. Yes, of course, Samantha. I'll do it as soon as possible, especially if someone reminds me in like an hour once it's processed. It takes about an hour for these to process, and then I can download them and then upload them. I'll be alone when I finish my song, when I've shut down the band, when I've played out my hand, when I've paid all my debts, when I have no regrets, right here in the old there before, when nothing is left anymore. The game makers cut to a long shot, which made Coriolanus want to shout an objection until he realized why. Every snake in the arena appeared to have fallen subject to her siren song, and they flocked to her. Even those in the nest under Tesley who was ready prey had abandoned their target and made for Lucy Gray. Still shuddering from the trauma, Tesley slid shakily to the ground and hobbled over to a chain-link fence on one section of the barricade. She climbed her way to safe height while the song continued. I'll catch you up when I've emptied my cup, when I've worn out my friends, when I've burned out both ends, when I've cried all my tears, when I've conquered my fears, right here in the old there before, when nothing is left anymore. The camera made its way back to a tight shot of Lucy Gray, and Coriolanus had the feeling that she usually catered to an audience well plied with liquor. In these days before her interview, he listened to many a number that conjured up a drunken group, waving tin cups of gin from side to side in some dive bar. Although the liquor didn't seem essential, because when he took a quick look over his shoulder, he saw that several people in Heavensby Hall had begun to sway to her rhythm. Her voice rose in volume, echoing all around the arena. I'll bring the news when I've danced off my shoes, when my body's closed down, when my boat's run aground, when I've tallied the score, and I'm flat on the floor, right here, the old there before, where nothing is left anymore. And then reaching a crescendo, she brought it all home. When I'm pure like a dove, when I've learned how to love, right here in the old there before, when nothing is left anymore. That last note hung in the air while the audience held its collective breath. The snakes waited for it to fade, and then, or wait, was this his imagination? They began to stir. I hear her, she sounds like she's still crying. I'm gonna see if maybe she'll be okay if I put her in the rack if I stand up. Hold on. will. We're gonna do it. My husband's the sweetest. He was like, you know, if she can't settle, you should give her back to me so that you can still do book club. I don't want you to not be able to do book club. He's so nice to us. But I want him to be able to sleep a little longer if he can. So I will just stand here and I will read standing and she will fall asleep. You will fall asleep, huh, baby? You want to lay your head down? If you lay your head down, you'll fall asleep. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot your burp cloth, huh? Do you want to lay your head down, honey? Yeah, lay your head down. Yeah. I know, but you'll sleep better if you lay your head down. I know. I know. Okay. Lucy looked as spellbound as the snakes when the camera cut back to him, eyes a bit glazed, mouth slackly open. He snapped back when he saw his own image on the feed, and he turned his attention to a stone-faced Dr. Gall. Well, head gamemaker, take a bow. Heavensby Hall erupted into a standing ovation, but Coriolanus could not peel his eyes off Dr. Gall. What was going on behind that inscrutable expression? Did she attribute the snake's behavior to Lucy Gray's singing, or did she suspect foul play? Even if Dr. Gall knew about the handkerchief, perhaps she would forgive him, as the result had been so dramatic. I know. You want to sing like Lucy Gray? Yeah. Dr. Gall allowed herself a small nod of acknowledgement. Well, thank you, but the focus today should not be on me, but on Gaius Breen. Perhaps his classmates might share some remembrance with us. Lepidus leapt into action in Heavensby Hall, collecting stories from Gaius's classmates. It was well that Dr. Gall had given him a heads up, because while everybody had a joke or a funny story to share, only Coriolanus had managed to tie in the heroic loss, the snakes, and the retribution that they had witnessed in the arena. We could never let the death of such a stellar young youth of the capital go without... Oh, sorry. Wrong voice. I know he's busy and all, but he should put a How to Be a Green Flag class together. I know, right, Nikki? Tell me about it. Tell me about it. What a green flag he is. That was the wrong voice, sorry. We could never let the death of a stellar youth of the capital go without repercussion. When hit, we hit back twice as hard. Oh, wait, no, that was Coriolanus. I'm sorry, you guys. Okay, Coriolanus said this, and he said, just as Dr. Gall mentioned in the past. Lepidus tried to turn the conversation to Lucy Gray's extraordinary performance with the snakes, but Coriolanus only said, she's remarkable, but Dr. Gall is right. This moment belongs to Gaius. Let's save Lucy Gray for tomorrow. After a full half-hour of remembrance, Lepidus bid the shows adieu to Festus and Io, as Coral and Circe had succumbed to venom. Coriolanus gave Festus a bear hug, surprisingly emotional at seeing his reliable friend leave the dais. He felt the loss of Io as well, since she veered more towards clinical than combative, which was more than he could say for the others remaining, except perhaps for Persephone, who he had decided to share his supper hour with. Cannibals over cutthroats. Oh my. The student body went home, leaving a handful of active mentors to their steak dinners. Coriolanus glanced around at his competitors. Being in the final five, he should have been flying high, but if one of the others won, then Dean Highbottom could still give him a prize that was insufficient to pay for the university, perhaps citing it as citing his demerit as a reason. Only the plinth prize would truly protect him. He shifted his focus to the screen, where Lucy Gray continued to hum to her pets. Tesley... She's singing for you guys. Yeah, she's singing. Are you singing, my sweet angel? Yeah, sing away, sweet angel. He shifted his focus to the screen, where Lucy Gray continued to hum to her pets. Tesley disappeared behind the barricade. Mizzen, Treach, and Reefer held their lofty positions. Clouds rolled in, portending a storm and creating a dazzle of sunset. I know, this hand is everything, right? She always does this when she's falling asleep. She does it at night too. It's very cute. And in the morning when she's waking up. She's fighting it so hard. Yeah, they said thank you for the song. Yeah, they love your songs. You have a beautiful voice. You gonna be a singer? Yeah. The bad weather brought a quick nightfall, and he had not yet finished his pudding when Lucy Gray faded from view, and a deep rumble of thunder shook the arena. He'd hoped for lightning to provide some sort of illumination, but the heavy downpour that followed made the night impenetrable. Coriolanus decided to sleep in Heavensby Hall, and as did the other four remaining mentors. No one except Vespania had thought to bring bedding, so the rest arranged themselves in padded chairs, propping up their feet and using book bags as makeshift pillows. As the rainy night cooled the hall, Coriolanus dozed in his chair, one eye half open for any activity on the screen. I know, it's so funny. They just can't let go. The storm obscured all, and eventually he drifted off. Near dawn, he woke with a start and looked around. Vespania, Urbane, and Persephone slept soundly. From a few yards away, Clemencia's large dark eyes shone in the dim light. He didn't want to be her enemy. If the snow's fortress was about to fall, he was going to need friends. Until the snake incident, he had counted Clemencia among his best friends. And she'd always gotten along well with Tigris, too. But how to make amends? Clemencia had one hand tucked inside her shirt, where she fingered the collarbone that she had presented in the hospital, the one covered in scales. Hey, did they go away? He whispered, and Clemencia tensed. They're fading, finally. They said it may last as long as a year. Are they, painful? It was the first time that the idea had even occurred to him. No, not painful, but they pull on my skin. She rubbed at the scales. It's kind of hard to explain. Heartened by the confidence, he took the plunge. Look, I'm sorry, Clemmy. Really, about all of it. You didn't know what she had planned, said Clemencia. No, I didn't. But after, in the hospital, I should have been there for you. I should have broken down the doors to make sure that you were okay in there, he insisted. Yeah, she said emphatically, but she seemed to relent a little. But I know you were hurt too, in the arena. Don't make excuses for me. He threw up his hands. I'm worthless and we both know it. A hint of a smile then. Yeah, almost. I guess I should thank you for keeping me from making a complete fool of myself today. Or did I? He squinted as if trying to recall it. All I remember is clinging to you, not necessarily hiding behind you, but there was definitely clinging. She laughed a little, but became serious. I shouldn't have blamed so much on you. I'm sorry. I was terrified. Yeah, with good reason. I wish you hadn't had to watch that today, he said. Maybe it was cathartic. I feel better somehow, she confessed. Am I just terrible? My niece was watching the Dodger game with me yesterday and she fell asleep. Oh, she needed her show on. Yeah. No, he said. I think the only thing you are is brave. And so their friendship was shakily renewed. They let the others sleep while they shared the last cheese tart in Coriolanus' stash, talking of this and that, and even rolling around the idea of trying to set up an alliance between Lucy Gray and Reaper in the arena. Since it seemed out of their control, they abandoned that idea. The two would pair up, or they wouldn't. Well, at least we're allies again, he said. Well, we're not enemies, anyway, Clemencia allowed. But then they went to wash their faces for the cameras, and she loaned him her soap so that he wouldn't have to use the abrasive liquid goop in the bathrooms, and somehow the small but intimate gesture let him know that he was indeed forgiven. No breakfast was provided, but Festus came in early to pass out egg sandwiches and apples in the spirit of camaraderie. Persephone beamed over at her teacup. Knowing now that Clemencia had lightened up, Coriolanus didn't feel as threatened by the mentor pool. They all wanted to win, but that was largely in their tribute's hands. He assessed Lucy Gray's competitors: Tesley, small but brainy; Mizzen, deadly but injured; Treach, athletic but something of an unknown; Reaper, too strange for words. The last of the clouds rolled in with the sunrise. Dead snakes littered the arena, draped over rubble, floating in puddles, drowned perhaps, or unable to survive the cold, wet night. Some genetically engineered creatures didn't do well outside the lab. Lucy Gray and Tesley were nowhere to be seen, but the three boys were in soggy clothes and had ventured down from the heights. Mizzen was sleeping, his body belted to the beam, as the other students filed into Heavensby Hall. Vespania and Clemencia, who seemed almost normal, sent their food to tributes. When the drones arrived, Treach ate hungrily, but Reaper again brushed off his food, climbing down into the arena to scoop water from a puddle. Indifferent to Treach and Mizzen, who had finally awoken, he went about collecting coral and cirque, adding them to his row. The other boys watched him warily, but neither engaged him. They were put off either by his eccentric behavior or the possibility of stray snakes. They were probably hoping that someone else would finish him off, but his work remained uninterrupted, and he returned to the press box when he'd tidied his morgue. Treach sat on the edge of the scoreboard, swinging his feet while Mizzen mimed eating. Persephone responded immediately, ordering him a large breakfast. After a moment, Tesley showed up, her face pinched in concentration. She hauled out a drone that, while much like the original delivery craft itself, appeared slightly altered. She positioned herself directly under Mizzen. "Does she think that thing will fly?" asked Vespania dubiously. "And even if it does, how's she going to control it?" Urbane, who had been scowling at the screen, sat forward in his seat suddenly. "She wouldn't have to. She wouldn't need to, but I mean, how did she..." He trailed off, trying to puzzle things out somehow. Tesley flipped a switch and raised her arms and launched the drone into the air. It ascended, revealing a cable that connected the base of the drone to a loop around her wrist. Thus tethered, the drone began to fly in a circle about halfway between her and Mizzen. He looked down, clearly perplexed, but had gotten distracted by the arrival of the first drone from Persephone. It dropped a chunk of bread down to him and made as if to return home as usual, and then a few yards out it swerved and came back at him. Mizzen leaned back, surprised. He reflexively swatted at it, but only passed over him. It opened its claws to deliver a non-existent gift, and it came in again. "What's wrong with that drone?" asked Persephone, but no one knew. At that moment, a second drone came in with water, and a third with cheese. They, too, deposited their packets, only to hang around, attempting to repeat deliveries. But the drones, which had been timed for a smooth airdrop, began to bump into one another, and sometimes into Mizzen. The tail of one caught him in the eye, and he cried out, lashing at it. "Well, is there any way for me to contact the game makers? I mean, I sent 3 more, said Persephone. "There's nothing they can do," said Urbane in amusement. "She found a way to hack them. She's blocked their homing direction, so his face is their only destination." Sure enough, as the other 3 drones arrived, one at a time, they malfunctioned in a similar fashion. Mizzen was their sole target, and what seemed funny at first had turned deadly. He got to his feet and attempted to flee down the beam, but they swarmed around him like bees to a honeypot. Having left his trident on the ground, he pulled out a knife and attempted to fight them, but the most he achieved was momentarily knocking them off course. They weren't programmed to make contact with him, but as they ricocheted off one another and his blade, more and more of them collided into him, until they gave the appearance of an attack. Mizzen began to grope his way to a pole, the very one in which he left Tesley to her fate, but his knees would not cooperate. Frantic now, he took a wild swing at the drones, throwing his weight onto his injured leg, which wobbled and then gave way. He lost his balance and plummeted toward the ground, snapping his neck sideways on contact. "Oh!" Persephone exclaimed as he hit the ground. "Oh my gosh! She killed him!" Vespania frowned at the screen. "She's smarter than she looks." Tesley gave a satisfied smile and reeled in her drone, switching it off and giving it a loving hug. "Don't judge a book by its cover," Urbane chuckled as he tapped on some gifts in his communicuff, "especially if that belongs to me." His glee was short-lived. While featuring the drone incident, the game makers had neglected to show the wider picture in which Treach had climbed down from the scoreboard through the stands, dropping into the arena. He seemed to appear out of thin air, making a gigantic leap into the frame and bringing down his axe on Tesley in one fell swoop. She had barely taken a step when the blade connected with her skull and split it open, killing her instantly. Treach leaned his hands on his knees, puffing with exertion, and then sat right on the ground next to her, watching the blood ooze into the sand. The drones were arriving with a shower of food for her, and that set him into motion again. He collected a dozen parcels and withdrew behind the barricade. Urbane covered his mouth in disbelief with disgust and rose to go. He could not escape Lepidus's ever-present microphone, though, and he barely managed not to snarl when he said, "That's it for me. Laugh a minute, wasn't it?" And then he walked off, leaving Persephone to expand on her regrets and her gratitude for the opportunity to be a mentor. "Well, you made it into the top 5, Lepidus beamed at her. "No one could ever take that away from you." "No," she said somewhat dubiously. "No, that's the kind of thing that sticks around." Coriolanus looked from Clemencia to Vespania. "Just us, I guess." The three rearranged their chairs in a row, and with Coriolanus in the middle, while the others cleared away the seats of the defeated, Lucy Gray, Treach, Reaper, the final 3, final girl, final day, maybe that too. Lucky made his entrance in a hat that stuck with 5 sparklers. "Well, hello, Panem. Had this hat done especially for the final 5, but they've been sending off their own sparks, haven't they?" He pulled 2 sparklers out of the hat and hurled them over his shoulder blindly. "Final 3, anybody?" One of the sparklers fizzled out on the floor, but the second set a curtain to smoking, eliciting a high-pitched yipping sound and panicked footwork from Lucky. A crew member ran onto the screen with a fire extinguisher to handle the crisis, allowing Lucky to regain his composure as his 3 remaining hat sparklers died out. The number for sponsors and gamblers flashed above the bottom of the screen. "Woo-wee! That betting is getting hot and heavy. Do not miss out on the fun." Coriolanus's communicuff pinged healthily, but so did Vespania's and Clemencia. "A lot of good that's going to do me," Clemencia murmured to Coriolanus. "He doesn't trust me enough to eat anything that I send." Lucy Gray had to be hungry, and he assumed that she was resting in the tunnels. He wanted to send her food and water, both for sustenance and for a conduit for poison. Since her last 2 opponents could easily overpower her, he had to do something to put the odds in her favor. For now, he could think of nothing but to keep the crowd on her side. When Lepidus approached him for his promised thoughts on Lucy Gray's performance, he'd laid it on thick. Coriolanus didn't know what it would take to prove to people that she was not district if she hadn't convinced them by now. "I feel a great injustice may have occurred by her being not just in the reaping, but being in District 12 at all. People will need to judge for themselves, but if you agree with me, or you even suspect that I might be right, you know what to do." And while the new barrage of donations hitting his communicuff was affirming, he didn't know how it would help. He would probably feed her for weeks on what he already had. But the only tribute moving around the arena was Reaper, who had descended from the press box, cutting off another large swath of his flag. Gaunt and unsteady, he teetered over to add Tesley and Misson to his collection, using a new piece of the flag to cover them. With effort, he climbed up the back row of the arena, where he dozed in the sunlight, rocking gently back and forth, his cape spread out to dry. Coriolanus wondered if he would soon perish of natural causes. If starving to death was a natural cause, anyway. He wasn't entirely sure. Was it natural if hunger had been used as a weapon? It's a good question. To his relief, Lucy Gray materialized just before noon in the shadows of a tunnel. She surveyed the arena, judging its safety, and she stepped into the sunlight. The mud on the hem of her ruffled skirt had begun to cake, but the damp dress still clung to her. While Coriolanus ordered her a feast on his communicuff, Lucy Gray crossed to Reaper's puddle and knelt. She scooped up water slaking her thirst and washing her face. After combing out her hair with her fingers, she twisted it into a loose knot, finishing just as a dozen drones entered the arena. She appeared not to notice them as she took a bottle from her pocket and dipped it into the puddle, collecting an inch or so of water. After swishing it around, Lucy Gray poured the water back into the puddle. She was making a refill for the bottle when the incoming drones caught her attention. As the food and water began to drop around her, she tossed away the old bottle and gathered the gifts into her skirt. Lucy Gray started for the nearest tunnel, but then glanced up at Reaper, lolling around in the stands. She changed course, hurried to his morgue, and lifted the flag material. Her lips moved as she counted the fallen. "She's trying to figure out who's left in the games. Coriolanus said into the mic that Lepidus has pushed into his face. Well, maybe we should put it up on the scoreboard, joked Lepidus. I'm sure the tributes would find that helpful, Coriolanus said. Seriously, that's actually a good idea. And suddenly Lucy Gray's head shot up, and the provisions in her skirt fell to the dirt as she turned on her heel and ran. She had heard what the audience could not. Treach had swung out from the barricade, wielding his axe, and caught her wrist as she passed below the beam. Lucy Gray twisted around, dropping to her knees, fighting wildly as he raised his axe. No. Coriolanus jumped to his feet, pushing Lepidus aside. No, Lucy Gray! The two things had happened simultaneously. As the axe began to fall, she flung herself into Treach's arms and clung to him, avoiding the blade. Bizarrely, they seemed to embrace each other for a long moment, until Treach's eyes widened in horror. He shoved her away, dropping the axe, and tore something from the back of his neck. His hand shot into the air, fingers gripped tightly around the bright pink snake. And then he collapsed to his knees and smashed into the dirt on the ground again and again until his head fell to the dirt, lifeless as the snake was clutched in his fist. Her chest rising and falling, Lucy Gray whipped around to locate Reaper. He still sat rocking in the stands, momentarily safe. She pressed one hand against her heart and waved to the audience. As the crowd in the hall applauded, Coriolanus let his breath out in a huff and turned to acknowledge it. He'd done it. She'd done it. With a pocket full of poison, she had made it to the final two. She must have sheltered the pink snake in her pocket, just as she had with the green one at the reaping. Were there more? Or had Treach beaten the final survivor to death? No telling. But just as the possibility of another reptilian weapon made Lucy Gray seem deadly. Lepidus ushered off Vespania, who thanked the game makers through gritted teeth. Coriolanus sank to his chair and watched Lucy Gray reclaim her feast. He leaned over to Clemencia and whispered, "Hey, I'm glad it's us." And she answered with a conspiratorial smile. As Lucy Gray flattened the wrappings and spread her food out in a pleasing fashion, Coriolanus thought of their picnic at the zoo. Was she restaging it now for his benefit? Something tugged at his heart, and the memory of the kiss hit him. Were there more in his future? For a minute, he drifted off into a daydream of Lucy Gray winning, leaving the arena and coming to live with him at the Snows' penthouse, which was somehow saved from taxes. He'd attend the university on his plinth prize while she headlined at Pluribus's newly reopened nightclub because the capital will agree to let her stay and, well, he hadn't worked out all the details, but the point was he'd get to keep her. And he wanted to keep her, safe and close at hand, admired and admiring, devoted and entirely unequivocally his. If what she had said just before she kissed him was true, well, the only boy that my heart has a sweet spot for now is you. If that was true, then wouldn't she want this too? Stop it, he thought. No one's won anything yet. She polished off most of her food, so he ordered her another round, a large one that she could squirrel away and live off of for the next few days, just in case she decided to hunker down and wait for Reaper to die. It was a good plan, low risk to her and inevitable if he stayed on the course of rejecting all sustenance. But what if he didn't? What if he regained his senses and decided to eat nearly unlimited sponsor gifts that Clemencia could provide him with? Then it would come down to a physical matchup again, and Lucy Gray would be at a real disadvantage unless she was packing more snakes. When the drones had delivered her supplies, Lucy Gray sorted them out and stowed them in her pockets. They hadn't seemed spacious enough to hold all the food and drink with another snake, but she was awfully clever. He hadn't seen her remove the snake that killed Treach. Festus brought Coriolanus and Clemencia sandwiches at lunch, but they were both too nervous to eat. The rest of the students ate in their seats, not wanting to miss a moment. Coriolanus could hear whispered yet passionate debates over who would win the day. He could never remember people caring about this in the past. The beating sun began to dry out the arena, soaking up the shallow puddles and leaving only a few deep enough to drink from. Lucy Gray rested on a bit of rubble, her skirt spread out to catch the rays. The lull brought out Lucky, who gave a detailed weather forecast, including a heat advisory and tips to avoid related cramps, exhaustion, and stroke. The line at the lemonade stand outside the arena stretched long, and people hid under their umbrellas or crammed into precious bits of shade. Even the dependable coolness of Heavensby Hall had failed, so students stripped off their jackets, fanned themselves with notebooks. By mid-afternoon, the school had made fruit punch available, which gave a festive feeling to the event. Lucy Gray kept Reaper in her sights, but he made no move to engage her. Suddenly, she rose as if impatient to get on with things, and retraced her steps to Treach's body. Taking hold of one ankle, she began to drag him over to Reaper's morgue. Reaper appeared to wake up the moment that she touched the body. He leaned out and shouted something unintelligible and hurried down from the stands. Lucy Gray let go of Treach and ran to a nearby tunnel. Reaper assumed the job of transporting Treach, placing him neatly in a row of dead tributes and covering him with the flag remnant. I don't exactly remember what happens, but I'm kind of guessing in my head what's about to happen. Satisfied, he made his way back to the stands, but he'd only just reached the wall when Lucy Gray ran out from the second tunnel and pulled one of the pieces of the flag from the body and gave a holler. Reaper whipped around and ran at her. Lucy Gray wasted no time in vanishing behind the barricade. Reaper replaced the flag, tucking the fabric under the body to hold it more securely in place, and he went to rest against a pole. After a few minutes, he seemed to drift off, his eyes closed again in the sunlight. Lucy Gray darted out again and yanked one of the flag segments free. This time, she ran off with it trailing behind her. By the time Reaper had come to realize her disruption, she'd put 50 yards between them. His indecision allowed her to widen her lead, and she dragged the flag to the dead center of the arena, where she left it in the dirt and made for the stands. Angry now, Reaper ran over and repossessed his flag. He took a few steps after her, but the exertion had taken a toll on him. Pressing his hands against his temples, he panted rapidly, although he didn't appear to be sweating. As Lucky's recent update had reminded him, that could be sign of heat stroke. She's trying to run him to death, thought Coriolanus, and it might just work. Okay, that's not what I thought was going to happen, so I stand corrected. Reaper staggered a bit, as though drunk. Flag in tow, he made his way to his puddle, one of the few that hadn't dried up this afternoon. Oh, now I do know. He dropped down to his knees and drank, slurping until only muddy sludge remained on the bottom. As he sat back on his heels, a funny look crossed his face, and his fingers began to knead his ribs and chest. He vomited up a portion of the water and then retched for a while on his hands and knees before rising unsteadily. Still gripping the flag in one hand, he began to walk in slow, uneven steps back towards his morgue. Reaper had just made it when he collapsed on the ground, dragging himself in line next to Treach. One hand made an attempt to pull the flag up over the group, but he had managed only to cover himself partway before he drew in his limbs and went still. Very sad. Coriolanus sat frozen in anticipation. Was that it? Had he really won? The Hunger Games? The Plinth Prize? The girl? He studied Lucy Gray's face as she watched Reaper from the stands, but she had a distant look, as if she were far away from the action in the arena. The audience in the hall began to murmur. Was Reaper dead? Shouldn't they be declaring a winner? Coriolanus and Clemencia waved Lepidus and his mic away as they waited for the outcome. Half an hour passed before Lucy Gray climbed down from the stands and approached Reaper. She placed a finger on his neck, checking his pulse. Satisfied, she closed his eyelids and tenderly arranged the flag over the tributes, as if she were putting children to bed. And then she went over and sat against the pole to wait. This seemed to convince the game makers, because Lucky appeared, jumping up and down and announcing that Lucy Gray Baird, the tribute of District 12, and her mentor, Coriolanus Snow, had won the 10th Hunger Games. Heavensby Hall erupted around Coriolanus, and Festus organized a few classmates to lift his chair and parade him around the dais. When they finally set him down, Lepidus hounded him with questions, to which he could only reply that the experience had been both exhilarating and humbling. The entire student body was directed to the dining hall, where cake and posca had been provided for the celebration. Coriolanus sat in place of honor, receiving congratulations and downing more posca than was good for him. So what? Right now he felt invisible. Satria rescued him just as his head felt fuzzy, ushering him from the dining hall and directing him to the high biology lab. I think they're bringing your girl over. Don't be surprised if they let you on camera together. Well done. Coriolanus gave her a spontaneous hug and hurried for the lab, grateful for the moment of quiet. He felt his lips stretching into an insane grin. He had won. He'd won glory and future and maybe love too. Any minute now, he'd have Lucy Gray in his arms. Oh, snow lands on top. It most certainly does. He forced his cheeks to relax as he got to the door. He straightened his jacket to help conceal the tipsy mess that he actually was. No, this wouldn't do, somehow, to let Dr. Gall see him this way. And when he opened the door to the high biology lab, he found only Dean Highbottom, sitting in his usual place at the table. Close the door behind you, Coriolanus obliged. Perhaps the dean wanted to congratulate him in private, or maybe even apologize for abusing him. A falling star might one day need a rising one, but as he approached the dean, a cold dread washed over him. There, arranged on the table like lab specimens, were 3 items: an academy napkin stained with grape punch, his mother's silver compact, and a dingy white handkerchief. This meeting could not have lasted more than 5 minutes, and afterward, as agreed, Coriolanus headed directly to the recruitment center, where he became Panem's newest, if not shiniest, peacekeeper. Yikes. Yikes. Beans. Not good, you guys. It's not good. He's getting none of the things he thought he was gonna get. Morning, Mary. Such a bummer. This is literally the definition of a villain origin story. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting, right, to think about him as a character. And I don't know if we can say this of, like, all people who end up on that side of things, but, like, there's definitely a way he could have gone the other way. You know what I mean? Like, he might not have become President Snow if this had been handled differently, right? Like, maybe he's right. Maybe they would have been able to use the money to stay in their home. Lucy Gray would have performed in the Capitol, and he would have, who knows what, taught at the school, been something else. You know what I mean? And he's only a teenager, right? So, like, on some level, I really do feel for him in this case, right? Because his brain is not even developed, you know? I don't know. I don't know. Well, anyway, that is what happened for today. So, I'm gonna try to have a slime live later today. What time, I don't know. Didn't want to be the president. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Well, his grandmama really wanted him to. Slowly trying to make the Wiz my 15 nieces. That's amazing. You should definitely do that. You know, I've never seen the movie version. I probably should, but you know me, I'm so bad about movies. But I know the music, obviously. So anyway, if my class goes smoothly and then I can jump on, I really need to make a base today for tomorrow's and the rest of the week's roll for slimes. So that's on the list of things to do today. Class was so great. It's a group. It's a big group. I do need to see it then. Naisif is your favorite. Yeah, I posted, for anyone who has questions about it, I'll make videos and stuff, but like the class is great so far. I really like the instructor. I think she's efficient. Yeah, it's a big lineup. That's right. I think she's an efficient and well-spoken instructor. She's been doing this for I think she's been teaching for 25 years, and she's been doing baby wearing for even longer. So my whole life almost, you know what I mean? So definitely someone worth learning from. Always, right? Isn't that the worst? So yeah, I really like everything. Yesterday we went over ring slings and front wrap cost carries, which I both knew already, but it's always good to learn new tips. You know what I mean? Even if you already know those things. So, and learning how to teach them to someone is good too, you know? So that's nice. So I will see you all either tomorrow morning or later today, but today we're doing other stuff. I wonder if you could find 80 Blunt. I know, that's what I was wondering, Avery. I don't know if you guys saw my post. I'm like gonna try to find other themes in the blind box because the blind box thing is so fun. It like changes Roll for Slime in like a whole new way. And not that we don't want to have traditional Roll for Slimes too, but maybe we can all search for like other themes that exist in blind boxes, and then we can have other versions of them too. Do you guys know those little unicorns, the like Tokidoki unicorns that come in a box? Destiny got me a bunch of those when I still worked at Slumu. Those are so cute. Oh really, Amanda? Will you send them to me? Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about doing. We got to finish the Disney ones first, of course. But like, doesn't mean that we can't do others. How did she go to sleep last night? Last night she slept 8.5 hours straight. So I think that's why she's agreed to nap right now, because she's like on her normal schedule finally. But anyway, we'll keep up, you know, the searching and all that stuff. Yeah, I love Tokidoki stuff too. That's what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't it be cute to have the little unicorns in the Tokidoki boxes be the theme? And that would dictate like the color, the glitters, the concept. Because like I have a mermaid one, I have a bumblebee one. Those are ones that I was given as gifts, and I used to use them to decorate my desk at work. So it was nice, you know, they're cute. So anyway, that's kind of where my head's going. Like maybe that'll be our next one. I don't know. They're kind of pricey, so it would cost a little more, but I think it's worth it because you get the item also. You know what I mean? I'll do a poll. We'll see what everyone wants. Anyway, I will see you all later, one way or another, and I will get this uploaded as quickly as possible. Have a great day. Yeah, it gives a God to Catch 'Em All vibe for sure.